Whenever things get too strange and cumbersome and weird in this world, I know that I have entered a sort of a tunnel vision, which science shows us to be the time where we live in fear. And there have been a lot of studies shown that when we are in a state of peace and tranquility and also more control over our lives and our environment is when we actually zoom out. And when I feel like I am in those situations or in those period of life where just things are weird and a lot of weird stuff is happening in the world, or I'm fearful, I do a practice in my life where I zoom out. I zoom out about my life, earth, and also time and space. And then I zoom out so much so that I can see millions and millions of years in which the human intelligence was pretty much born and started evolving millions and millions and millions and years ago. And today I want to talk about that evolution because while I'm sure you are already aware and have covered that in high school in terms of the human evolution, there's another perspective that I'd like to share with you. And I watched another video that motivated me to talk about it, and I want to share also that perception with you. So how did we evolve to be intelligent as humans and as Homo sapiens, if you will? The truth of the matter is that if you believe in evolution, so we're gonna just talk about it on a scientific level and the way in which science look at it from the evolution perspective, is that it was really not a given that we were born and we came on this earth to be intelligent. It was, as a matter of fact, a series of events, a butterfly effect, if you will, that led to the human intelligence. It was not that we were created here on this earth to be the intelligent species we are, because if you compare a lot of animals that have existed on this earth, sometimes even much longer than us humans, they never got to be intelligent as we are. Shark, for example, is one of them. If you look at the evolution of sharks, they're pretty much the same. And one reason for that is that sharks have been the predators in their environments, and so they were really not ever put in that pressure situation where they had to evolve in order to survive. In other words, they were strong enough, the predator being a predator enough, where they could eat whatever they wanted, they could live however they wanted, and they were really, really never in jeopardy of being extinct. And for that reason, their DNA never felt the need to evolve as a species such that they would survive, like, for example, us humans did. And so when did actually the evolution of human intelligence, the butterfly effect, if you will, started? And that goes all the way back to the dinosaurs, at least if we believe in the scientific explanation of it. And that is when dinosaurs were alive, essentially not many species could survive because they were so strong enough and powerful enough that they would literally be able to eat anything and anyone and anything that existed. And so the anything smaller than them was going extinct. And we know, again, based on scientific discoveries, that our species, mammalians, were existing in the water. And so we were sort of living there as organism and whatnot. And we evolved to some species that I forgot the name of. But as long as the dinosaurs were around, essentially we were not able to evolve because we couldn't even come out of the water because we would be eaten. But then when dinosaurs went extinct, something extremely unusual happened, and that is when the butterfly effect started. And this ripple effect, or the butterfly effect, if you will, started such that the danger that initially existed on the land where dinosaurs were no longer existed. And so as a result, these mammals that were somewhat living in the waters were able to gradually come out. But for them to come out, they needed to evolve such that they would be able to survive and thrive on land. And so we're talking millions of years, of course, over years and years and years, they gradually started evolving physically as well as at the neocortex level, such that they would be able to grow, for example, small legs, or started walking in a sense on four legs, started growing legs, and then eventually started climbing up the trees, and then eventually started learning more and more as to how to survive in the land from them moving onto the earth, onto the dry land. The part that distinguishes the mammals from the other species back then was more specifically the neocortex. And that is what made the butterfly effect, or the ripple effect, for us to start becoming more and more intelligent started. That is the differentiating part. And so when we started migrating from the waters into the dry land and then up to the trees, for example, over, again, millions of years, we started gradually learning more and more how to survive. And we developed, for example, hands where we could grasp things, to travel from tree to tree. And then eventually we learned how to come down from the trees and then gradually start walking. And that is when we were forced, more or less, to learn how to walk, which is not an easy thing to do. If you consider us, how we were living, from water and then up the trees. But then we also gradually started to realize that, for example, discover fire, or invent fire, if you will, and becoming more and more intelligent, and then creating tools and becoming much more advanced in comparison to other animals that existed and still exist. And at an eagle eye view, that is more or less how we evolved to have the intelligence that we have today. And after creating all these tools, now fast forward, we are so creative that we are creating technologies, and we can fly, and we have created AIs, etc. However, the truth of the matter is that none of this butterfly effect or the ripple effect would have happened, for example, if the dinosaurs were never extinct. Because in that case, we would have never been able to even survive to become the intelligent people that we are. And so a lot of times we hear that we say, oh, intelligence is a given and we are superior to other animals because it's a given. But the truth of the matter is that it is an accident. It is because of the events that happened back then. It was never meant to be an intelligence to such an extent if the dinosaurs were still alive. And so when we zoom out of everything, life then suddenly has another meaning to it. You and I were never meant to be here if all these butterfly event or these ripples never happened. And we were not meant to be able to communicate like this. Me creating a video, in the ether of things and sending it over the air, and somebody in Africa, for example, watching this video, right? It was just like unheard of, something that no other animal can do. And which brings me to another very important thing that I want to hone in on. And the gist of this butterfly effect that contributed to very unique circumstances out of which the human intelligence was born and evolved throughout the millions of years was pressure. It was the unforeseen circumstances where we moved from water onto the dry land, onto tree, and then down the trees, because our circumstances were so rough and so uncertain, and we were constantly under pressure, such that we had to learn, we had to evolve to survive, is very fascinating. And that is the main reason that the human intelligence is as it is today. And so partly we have to thank these very challenging, unforeseen, tough, rough experiences and environments and circumstances for our intelligence, because if these rough environments did not exist millions and millions of years ago, the human intelligence would have never evolved to what it is today. And we would be like, for example, other animals, like sharks, for example, where over millions and millions of years, we will still be the same. There is nothing wrong with that, but the beauty of it is that whether we like it or not, we need to think about and appreciate those really, really tough circumstances and environment that we were bestowed upon, that made us what we are and who we are today. And so it is for that reason when those moments where in my life I go through extreme challenges, I zoom out, because then I remind myself and remember how the human intelligence evolved from these unique, very tough and rough circumstances, and how that butterfly effect, if you will, impacted. And then it makes me realize that all of these challenges that we're going through is part of the evolution. That is another reason that when you see parents and children are usually, and scientifically also proven, are more intelligent and more farther ahead intelligence-wise than their parents. It's their job to be more intelligent. It's part of the evolution. In fact, if there are kids that are less intelligent than their parents, then there's something wrong with that. So it is the part of the evolution of intelligence, and each and one of us has a part in that evolution. And the part that you and I play a role in that evolution of human intelligence is to be very realistic and knowing about this evolution, that it's pretty much unstoppable. There is nothing anybody can do at this point to stop the evolution of human intelligence, because the butterfly effect, the ripple effect, happened millions and millions of years ago by dinosaurs dying. And that is how the evolution basically started, out of those unique circumstances. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop it, because it's just the nature and the definition of the evolution of the human intelligence. And so when people say, oh, things are moving too fast and technology and all that stuff, I understand the fear, but there's nothing you and I can do about it. It is we're destined to evolve. And that doesn't mean that we should accept everything, but it is our job to be part of that evolution, and it is what it is. If one person doesn't like it, that doesn't matter. If enough people continue with that evolution, which we do, it's just the way it is, and we are meant to move forward. Which also, when we think about it, begs the question to question whether something like God exists, for example. And again, this is not a channel to have those discussions, and I understand that many people feel extremely strong about their belief. But if you think about it that way, it's the evolution really becomes something much more different. It's a shift in perception when you look at it that way, and you see all those events, that it was really never meant to be, okay, now we're creating humans and they're supposed to be more intelligent than, for example, fishes in the sea, and blah blah blah. It's like it was just the certain circumstances, unique circumstances, that made it so that the environment was ripe, challenging, and ripe enough for the intelligence to be born, and for the brain of humans to evolve, starting from the neocortex in that size, and then evolve into us being the way we are, with also a very huge PFC, prefrontal cortex. And so I'm definitely curious as to hearing what you think about the evolution of human intelligence, the way it is discussed today in the evolutionary science, and how all those really tough circumstances made it so that we had no choice but becoming the intelligent species that we are today, very different than other animal species. Okay, that's all I had for today. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, share, and like to increase engagement with this channel. Thanks. Bye.